My life with CPS, total nightmare. Still living through hell. It'll be almost 6 years. Well, more than 6 years, for heaven's sakes. 6 years of taxpayers' dollars completely wasted. Why? Because they want to follow me around like I'm a criminal. And my goodness, I've only had one traffic ticket out of the 25 years that I've been driving. And oh my goodness, what a waste of money. I think that's what they like to do, is waste money, following people around, bothering them, trying to tell them what to do with their time, how to spend their time, what their priorities should be. Because before they took my kids, which I allowed them to do, because for one, they were trying to tell me what to do with my time. Both my kids were in full-time programs. I had them going to the Head Start program. I had them going to a beautiful school called Centro de la Rosa. And then I had them going to another school, which is Bailey Gasser, and another school that was called EEU, which is Educational Programs for Children who have, learning disabilities. So my kids were gone to school from 8 o'clock to 4 o'clock, which gave us freedom to do whatever we wanted to do 40 hours a week. At the same time, it gave my friends recreational time to have lots and lots of fun with different children, learning new things, doing new things, having associates, thus, going from one program to another, which took time for me to apply for both programs, for both of my children to attend. It gave them a new opportunity to have new friends, to play new games, at the same time learn, not from just one teacher, but 2 teachers. And to go out and do different activities with other children gave them a lot of joy in their life, because when they come home from school, they were so excited to let us know what they were doing during the day, what new friends they've made, what new games they learned, and what educational program that was applied to them. Like learning how to tie your shoe correctly, or if you have snaps on your shoes, this is the correct way to snap up your shoes. And my daughter was really super duper excited, because in the morning when it was time for them to go to school, they would just jump up and down, and it was like happiness and joy that was brought into their life. And it made me really happy to see them happy, but at the same time, as parents, when you have children that have special needs, you're constantly waiting on them. You're doing this, you're doing that, you're going here, you're going there. You're making sure that everything is done correctly. But it's 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week. Oh well, that's your children, and that's a parent's responsibility. But when CPS jumped into our lives, they basically told us that we could not have our children in full-time programs that we applied for with grants. That means when you apply for these programs, you're making sure that the child's medical is up to snuff, in the sense of making sure that they have perfect health, getting their shots, and at the same time getting their dental appointments met, and having the dentist say, well, hey, this child doesn't need to be here for 4 to 6 months. So therefore, she's made every single doctor's appointment, every single dental appointment. So we had all that ready for our children. And so CPS jumps into our lives. They come a knocking on our door, uninvited, and they invite themselves in because they're like harassing us to death. Because let me tell you something. I've moved 3 times in 5 years, and every single time that I've moved, they have followed me. They always find a reason to come back into our lives. And so they came into my life, and they told me, oh, you can't have your children going to full-time programs because we need to drop by your house and be there with you to monitor you and your children. And by the way, we're going to invite ourselves over 3 to 4 times a week. That's what the CPS people said to us. And then the CASA jumped in and said, but we're going to come to your house anywhere from 3 to 4 times a week. So we need to come to your house. So therefore, if your children are participating in full-time programs, they need to cut back on the programs so the children can be home early so we can come to your house and we can visit you. And I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, do I want to spend time with these people? CPS? CASA? No. Why? Because before we had our daughter together, which is me and my husband, we didn't know any of these people. The people that I knew were the people that I grew up with, that I have a history with, that I care about, that I love, that I respect, that I think the world of. Okay? Same thing about my husband, because his father is like a Lutheran minister, and all the people that he knew were from church, people that he hung out with, people that he grew up with. And when we first met, and this was back in 2001, I got to meet his friends, he got to meet my friends. Okay, he liked my friends, I like his friends. But I didn't really meet his family, but he didn't really meet my family. And it was like, okay, the people that we like and we love and we respect are just like family to us. Those people are like awesome and cool and supportive and loving and, joyful and considerate and caring and thoughtful. And that's the people we wanted to share our lives. Now, after I gave birth, this is what Swedish Hospital did. They took my child from me. Okay, my child was addicted to drugs, but it was the drugs that they prescribed for me while I was pregnant. Okay? Then, once they took my child from me, they had CPS there, and they were telling me I couldn't see my kid, and barely can see my kid. Now, that was like horrible, because when a mother gives birth to her child, she wants to be there for her child. And they wouldn't allow me to do that. And they wouldn't allow my husband or my boyfriend at the time to do that as well. They confiscated our child, which means kidnapping, because I do call them seasonal kidnappers no matter what. To me, they're seasonal kidnappers. What they do is they look at a child and they go, oh, that child is so beautiful. Okay, this mother was depressed in 1984. This is because they asked me, they said, why were you depressed October the 9th, 1984? And I said, well, goodness, I lost my parents, my grandparents, my uncles, my aunts, within a year. And they're just like, oh, that couldn't have happened. That's what the doctor wrote down. Delusional. That could not have happened. But when I had the people that were at the funeral with me lined up for court, and the minister who buried all my family members lined up for court, and the people that went to the funeral with me lined up for court, they didn't want to hear from them. Because even though I brought the registry of each person's funeral to CPS and the court, I said, well, let's see. This is where they were buried. This is the name of everybody signing their name in. Would you like the congregation to come to court to testify on my behalf? Since you're telling me it's a figment of my imagination, you can tell all these professional people that were there at the funeral that it did not occur. Because that's the thing that really pissed me off. I'm looking down at this paper and they're just like, hey, this is the reason we're taking your kids away. I'm like, my one child away, of course, when I had my first daughter. But later on, when I had my son, oh, let me tell you something. This bitch, excuse my language, and I know it's a very bad word, but her name is Chris Knazer, and she works for CPS. She kept lying to us, telling us that she was going to leave, that she was going to go away, that she was going to discontinue the case. Every time we went to court, throw in some new paperwork to show us what we did wrong. Okay? And then she would add on another 6 months, another 6 months. But I was pregnant again. She was following me all the way through my next pregnancy, coming month after month, asking me questions about my son who was not born. You know what? I found that woman so disgusting. She never even met my son. Because every time she came to my house, I made sure that my son was gone. That I had a babysitter lined up for him, that he was gone, that he was doing some type of activity with my babysitters. Because I have wonderful babysitters where I lived. So they were fantastic. And they loved watching him because they wanted to be around to watch him grow. When my daughter was born, people were not allowed to see my child. A numerous amount of friends, children that I knew in my neighborhood, their parents, they wanted to go see the baby. They couldn't see the baby because, for one, they had seized my daughter for 4 months, 2 weeks.